2009, he opposed same-sex marriage. Facebook lagged behind MySpace in monthly web traffic. Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie were the most famous couple on Earth. Airbnb had just launched its website. Tiger Woods was the world's most dominant athlete. Uber did not exist. Nobody had heard of the word gluten. The Twitter account, @RealDonaldTrump, had not yet been created. The ensuing decade saw a convergence of phenomena: economic displacement, technological innovation, civic upheaval that fundamentally reshaped our politics. And nowhere was that change felt more acutely than inside the Republican Party. Having moved to Washington in the twilight of Bush's presidency, I found myself less fascinated by Obama and his incoming Democratic government than by the power vacuum in the GOP. Bush was leaving office with record-low approval, and Republicans were headed into the wilderness. There was no vision, no new generation of leaders, no energy in the conservative base. One of America's two major parties had gone politically bankrupt. In the 10 years since, covering Congress and campaigns, I have interviewed more than a dozen Republican presidential candidates, scores of GOP congressmen and senators and governors, hundreds of party activists and strategists, and countless voters all across the country. I watched as the Republican Congress went to war with Obama, as the Tea Party rebranded the American right, as platoons of insurgent lawmakers came to Washington intent on its demolition, as the government was shuttered and pushed to the brink of default, as a group of renegades established themselves as an effective veto threat over their own party, and as the mutiny overthrew the most powerful man in the GOP, having already swallowed up his heir apparent. A wave of revolution was cresting in the Republican Party. The only question was who would ride it. The narrative I am setting forth in these pages is not meant to be comprehensive. What I have attempted to construct is an account guided by my own coverage of what, until the spring of 2016, was commonly known as the Republican Civil War, as told through the eyes of the combatants on the front lines. Although this project was conceived in early 2016, it was not until early 2018 that I began researching and reporting the new material that would form this book's foundation. In the year since, I have interviewed more than 300 people specifically for the purposes of this account. Those interviews, joined with my work over the previous decade, comprise the bulk of the story you are about to hear. Wherever I have drawn from other sources of information, proper attribution is provided. Everything else is rooted in my own reporting. Most of the interviews were conducted on the record. Any quote that appears in the present tense, says, is drawn from original reporting, as are the past tense quotes, said, that do not include outside attribution. This book is fashioned not as a traditional work of journalism, but as a storytelling narrative. Portions of some interviews were conducted on deep background, giving me license to use the material but not attribute the source. In those instances, the only reporting I present in this book is taken from sources with first-hand knowledge of the events and conversations in question. At a time when truth is under attack, I have labored to verify every quote, story, and circumstance down to the smallest detail. In addition to hundreds of hours of taped interviews, I have also drawn from emails, audio files, contemporaneous memos, and other private records provided by sources whose identities I agreed to safeguard. It is my hope that by listening to this account of the political and cultural turbulence that rattled the nation during the first 2 decades of the 21st century, you will gain a more textured understanding of Donald Trump's rise to the presidency and of its implications for America. Tim, Alberta, January 2019. Prologue. The resolute desk is clean and uncluttered.